Most people walk into Costco and see bulk quantities of food they need to use up before it expires. Giant bags of salad mix they'll have to eat in 3 days. Rotisserie chickens they'll be tired of by Wednesday. Perishable produce in quantities that would challenge a large family. But there's a different way to shop at Costco. A smarter way. One that turns the warehouse's biggest strength, the ability to buy in enormous quantities at low per-unit cost, into one of the most powerful food security moves an American family can make. Because tucked between the seasonal displays and the impulse buys and the 2-pound tubs of guacamole, Costco sells a surprisingly comprehensive set of foods with shelf lives that don't just last months, they last decades. Some of them last so long that the concept of expiration almost doesn't apply. We're talking about foods you could buy today and still be eating safely in 2045, 2050, or beyond. These are the 12 foods we're going to talk about today, not hypothetical foods, specialty items from a survivalist catalog. These are things available right now at Costco warehouses across America, often at prices that make them some of the best value on the floor, anywhere in the store. This isn't about buying one of everything and calling yourself prepared. It's about understanding which specific items, bought at Costco prices and stored correctly, give your family the deepest possible foundation of food security, the kind that insulates you from price spikes, supply disruptions, and the economic turbulence that the data suggests is coming in 2026 and beyond. We're going to count down from 12 to 1. For each item, we'll cover what it is, what the shelf life actually is and why, what it costs at Costco, how to store it properly, and why it belongs in your long-term pantry. By the end, you'll have a practical shopping list and a clear strategy. Let's get into it. Number 12. Distilled white vinegar. The preservation tool that never expires. Costco sells large jugs of distilled white vinegar. You'll typically find 1-gallon or larger containers, sometimes multi-packs. The price per gallon is among the lowest you'll find anywhere, and when it comes to shelf life, vinegar is in a category essentially by itself. Distilled white vinegar does not expire. The acetic acid that gives it its sharp acidic character is itself a preservative. The United States Food and Drug Administration has confirmed that properly sealed vinegar has an indefinite shelf life. The Vinegar Institute notes that vinegar is self-preserving due to its acidity, meaning no pathogen can survive in it. A sealed jug of Costco white vinegar bought today will be just as effective in 30 years as it is now. This is not a trivial point. In any serious food storage strategy, vinegar plays multiple critical roles that often go under-discussed. First, vinegar is a preservation medium itself. Home canning and pickling, one of the most effective long-term food preservation techniques available to a household, is built almost entirely on vinegar. If you have distilled white vinegar in quantity, you have the ability to extend the shelf life of garden vegetables, eggs, and other perishables by months or years. Capability is worth considerably more than the cost of the vinegar itself. Second, vinegar is a cleaning and sanitizing agent. In an emergency situation where commercial cleaning products are unavailable, diluted white vinegar, typically a 1-to-1 ratio with water, is an effective disinfectant for surfaces, cutting boards, and utensils. It won't replace hospital-grade disinfectants, but for household sanitation purposes, it performs well. Third, distilled white vinegar is a cooking ingredient used across an enormous range of recipes, from bread to sauces to pickling brines to baked goods. Keeping it in quantity means you maintain cooking flexibility, regardless of what's available at the grocery store. What to buy at Costco? Look for the multi-gallon packs of distilled white vinegar in the cleaning or food aisles. Buy at least 4 gallons. Costco prices, you're paying well under $1 per quart. This is one of the best value items in the store from a cost per unit standpoint. Store in a cool, dark area. Do not store near heat sources. Though vinegar won't go bad, heat can slightly reduce its acidity over long periods. Number 11. Baking soda, the 13.5-pound value that runs your kitchen Arm & Hammer sells a 13.5-pound bag of baking soda at Costco for approximately $6.50. That again, 13.5 pounds for $6.50. That works out to roughly 48 cents per pound, lower than you'll find almost anywhere else. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, a simple inorganic compound. It doesn't harbor microbial life, doesn't oxidize in any meaningful way. It doesn't go rancid. Stored dry and sealed, baking soda maintains its effectiveness essentially indefinitely. Brigham Young University conducted tests on baking soda stored for up to 29 years in sealed original containers. Every sample they tested still successfully leavened biscuits. 29 years. At that age, your baking soda still works. Terms of volume, 13.5 pounds of baking soda is enough to bake thousands of loaves of bread, hundreds of batches of cookies, and to keep your kitchen running for years. Typical recipe uses a teaspoon to a tablespoon of baking soda. You can do the math on how long that bag lasts in a household. But here's the preparedness angle that goes beyond baking. Baking soda is one of the most versatile compounds a household can store. It's a fire extinguisher. A handful thrown on a grease fire can smother the flames. It's a cleaning agent. Baking soda's mild abrasiveness makes it effective on sinks, stovetops, and tile without chemical fumes. Deodorizer, an antacid, a toothpaste ingredient, a hand scrub, a refrigerator freshener. In a situation where commercial products are unavailable, baking soda fills a remarkable number of gaps. What to buy at Costco? The Arm & Hammer 13.5-pound bag is the purchase. 2 of them store in a cool, dry area. The original packaging is reasonably moisture-resistant, but once opened, transfer to an airtight container or resealable bag to prevent absorption of ambient moisture and odors. For long-term storage beyond a few years, vacuum sealing a portion into smaller bags is ideal. 10. Apple cider vinegar. The shelf-stable health workhorse, Costco, carries Kirkland Signature organic apple cider vinegar in 3-pack bundles of 32-ounce bottles, as well as a massive 128-ounce acetum organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. The 1-gallon option is particularly excellent value. Like its distilled white cousin, apple cider vinegar has an indefinite shelf life when sealed. The acid content prevents any form of microbial growth or spoilage. Apple cider vinegar may develop harmless additional mother strands over time as it ages, but this does not affect its safety or nutritional properties. Some consider aged ACV with more mother to be nutritionally superior. The distinction between apple cider vinegar and distilled white vinegar for preparedness purposes is that ACV brings additional applications that white vinegar doesn't cover as well. Apple cider vinegar contains acetic acid, malic acid, beneficial bacteria, and enzymes that have well-documented health properties. Research has shown it can help regulate blood sugar response after meals, which matters particularly in a high-starch emergency food environment. Also has antimicrobial properties that make it useful as a mild food rinse and surface cleaner. Cooking. Apple cider vinegar has a mellower, fruitier flavor than distilled white vinegar, making it more versatile in salad dressings, marinades, fermented foods, and beverages. Any prolonged period of food storage eating, which can be monotonous and heavy on starches and grains, having apple cider vinegar available dramatically expands the flavor range of meals you can prepare. What to buy at Costco? The large format acetum 128-ounce bottle offers the best value per ounce. Alternatively, the Kirkland 3-pack gives you convenient 32-ounce bottles for easier portioning. Buy at least 2 large bottles or 2 3-packs. Store sealed at room temperature. Once opened, keep refrigerated for best quality, though it won't spoil at room temperature either. Number 9. Kirkland Canned Wild Alaskan Salmon. 5 years of premium protein, Costco's Kirkland Signature Wild Alaskan Pink Salmon is one of the best value canned proteins in the American market. 6-pack of 14 3/4-ounce cans for approximately $15.99. That's roughly $2.67 per large can. Well below what you'd pay for a similarly sized can of wild Alaskan salmon at a regular grocery store, where prices of $4 to $5 per can are standard. Each can provides roughly 60 grams of protein across multiple servings, along with significant omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, calcium from the soft bones, and B vitamins. From a nutritional standpoint, canned wild salmon is one of the most complete single-can foods available. It delivers not just protein but fat-soluble vitamins, minerals, and the long-chain omega-3s EPA and DHA that are genuinely difficult to obtain from a storage pantry that relies primarily on grains, legumes, and canned vegetables. The shelf life of commercially canned salmon is typically listed at 3 to 5 years. Practice: properly stored cans that remain sealed and undamaged are safe to eat well beyond that window. The main thing that degrades is texture and flavor, not safety. The USDA and FDA both note that canned foods with undamaged seals are safe indefinitely, with quality, not safety, being the limiting factor. Here's the nutritional math worth understanding. One large can of Kirkland Wild Alaskan salmon, consumed over 2 meals, provides enough omega-3s for an entire week at recommended intake levels. Food storage situation where fresh fish is unavailable, and the diet is heavy in shelf-stable starches. The addition of canned salmon is not just palatable, it's physiologically important for maintaining cognitive function, cardiovascular health, and inflammation control. What to buy at Costco: buy at least 6 to 12 six-packs, giving you 36 to 72 cans, roughly a 6-month to 1-year supply if you're consuming it twice a week. Store at room temperature away from extreme heat. Rotate stock using a first-in, first-out system. Number 8. Kirkland Albacore Tuna, the everyday protein that outperforms its price. Kirkland Signature Solid White Albacore Tuna in Water comes in an 8-count pack of 7-ounce cans for approximately $20.99. That works out to about $2.62 per can, competitive with grocery store pricing and often lower, particularly when comparing quality. Kirkland's albacore tuna is sourced from premium-grade fish and consistently receives high marks from consumer testers for texture and flavor relative to price. Albacore tuna is the white meat variety, milder in flavor than skipjack, higher in protein per can, and preferred by most consumers for straight eating rather than requiring heavy sauce or dressing. Each 7-ounce can provide approximately 42 grams of protein. In a long-term pantry, canned tuna fills a role that nothing else quite matches. It's the protein you actually want to eat. Beans and lentils are nutritious and important, but they require cooking and flavoring and patience. A can of albacore tuna can be eaten straight from the can, mixed into a quick pasta, made into a sandwich, or added to a rice bowl with minimal preparation. High-stress situation: the foods that require the least preparation and taste the most like normal everyday food are the ones that actually get eaten and provide real morale support. One important note on tuna and mercury: albacore tuna contains more mercury than light tuna, so consumption guidance suggests limiting intake to 1 to 2 servings per week, particularly for children, pregnant women, and nursing mothers. This is a consideration for your storage planning. You want tuna in your pantry, but not as your only protein source. It works best as part of a rotation with salmon, beans, and other proteins. Shelf life for Kirkland's canned albacore is listed at 3 to 5 years, with the same indefinite safety caveat as all commercially canned foods with intact seals. What to buy at Costco: 4 to 6 8-count packs gives you 32 to 48 cans, a good starting inventory for a 3 to 6 month rotation. Store away from direct heat. Note the purchase date on the outer box. Number 7. Dried beans and lentils. The 25-year Protein Foundation Costco carries dried beans and lentils in large format bags that represent some of the best calorie per dollar value in the warehouse. Goya dry lentils in 10-pound bags run approximately $13 to $15. Large bags of pinto beans, black beans, or kidney beans are available at similar cost structures. Here's the shelf life fact that surprises most people: dried beans stored properly can last 25 years or more. This isn't folk wisdom, it's documented. LDS Church's food storage program has formally studied dried bean shelf life for decades and has established that beans stored in sealed cans with oxygen absorbers maintain good quality and germination rates for over 25 years. When you seal dried beans in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade buckets, you're essentially creating an environment in which nothing that would degrade them can exist. No oxygen, no moisture, no pests. current Costco pricing, you're buying lentils for approximately $1.35 to $1.50 per pound. Price: a $10 investment buys 6 to 7 pounds of dried lentils, enough to provide hundreds of servings of high-protein, high-fiber food. Dried lentils have a complete amino acid profile when combined with grains, which is exactly what you'll have plenty of in a grain-heavy storage pantry. Protein complementarity of beans and rice is one of the most nutritionally complete pairings in food science. Lentils have a particular advantage over other dried legumes. They don't require soaking. You can go from dry lentils to a fully cooked, protein-rich meal in 20 to 30 minutes on a stovetop, or even in a solar cooker or rocket stove if conventional cooking isn't available. Red lentils cook even faster, breaking down into a thick, calorie-dense soup in as little as 15 minutes. Beyond protein, dried legumes provide iron, folate, magnesium, potassium, and zinc, micronutrients that are difficult to maintain at adequate levels in a storage diet focused primarily on grains and fats. What to buy at Costco? Target at minimum 25 to 50 pounds of combined dried legumes, lentils, pinto beans, black beans, kidney beans. For long-term storage beyond 2 to 3 years, repackage into Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade 5-gallon buckets. For shorter-term use, the original sealed bag stored in a cool, dry location works fine. Number 6. Kirkland Signature White Rice. The 25-year Calorie Foundation Costco sells Kirkland Signature enriched long-grain white rice in 25-pound and 50-pound bags through their warehouse and business delivery service. White rice in bulk at Costco represents one of the single most cost-efficient preparedness purchases available to an American family. Here's the shelf life science. White rice has had its bran and germ layers removed during milling. This significantly reduces the fat content compared to brown rice, which is why white rice stores dramatically longer. The fat in brown rice goes rancid within 6 to 12 months. White rice stored in a sealed container away from moisture, oxygen, light, and extreme heat maintains quality for 25 to 30 years. Some studies by the Utah State University Extension Program have found white rice stored in sealed cans to be nutritionally acceptable after 30 years of storage. When you buy a 50-pound bag of Kirkland white rice and properly repackage it into food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers, you are creating a caloric reserve that will outlast almost anything that could disrupt your life. Roughly 3,500 calories per pound, 50 pounds of white rice contains approximately 175,000 calories, enough to provide the total daily caloric needs of one person for about 175 days. For a family of 4, that's over a month of complete caloric needs from one purchase. The cost comparison is stark. Kirkland's 25-pound bag of long-grain white rice at Costco prices represents one of the lowest cost-per-calorie purchases in the American retail food market. You are buying stored energy at a price that industrial food producers pay for raw materials, and getting it delivered in consumer packaging you can pick up and carry home. White rice has a mild, neutral flavor that functions as a base for virtually any cuisine. Asian stir-fry, Mexican rice dishes, American casseroles, Indian curry. It absorbs flavors well, it pairs with protein in almost any preparation, and it's one of the most universally palatable foods across age groups. Food storage context. Eating foods your family already enjoys is not a luxury consideration. It's a critical factor in whether your stored food actually gets eaten in a rotation, rather than sitting until it's forgotten. What to buy at Costco? At minimum, buy 2 50-pound bags or 4 25-pound bags to start. Package into sealed 5-gallon food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers for long-term storage. For near-term rotation stock, the original bag stored in a cool, dry area is sufficient. Number 5. Hard winter wheat berries. The foundational food that banks don't want you to know about. This one requires a little more explanation because most people don't walk into Costco thinking about wheat berries. But understanding what whole wheat berries are and why they matter completely transforms your thinking about long-term food security. A wheat berry is the whole unprocessed kernel of wheat, the bran, germ, and endosperm intact. When you grind a wheat berry, you get fresh whole wheat flour. When you leave it whole and cook it, you get a chewy, nutritious grain that can be used in salads, soups, or as a rice substitute. Wheat berries can also be sprouted, providing fresh, living nutrition even in a storage situation. Here is the single most important fact about wheat berries stored in sealed containers with oxygen absorbers. Hard winter wheat berries have a documented shelf life of 25 to 30 years, while retaining both nutritional value and milling quality. This has been verified by USDA research and confirmed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' extensive food storage testing program. Hard winter wheat has a lower moisture content and higher protein content than soft wheat, making it particularly suited for long-term storage. Compare this to commercial flour. All-purpose flour from the grocery store goes stale in 6 to 12 months at room temperature because the germ oils in the flour oxidize. When you store wheat berries instead of flour, you are storing a seed that contains its own internal stability mechanisms. The bran acts as a natural protective layer. The low moisture content of properly dried wheat suppresses microbial activity. The result is a food that outlasts almost everything else in the storage pantry. Costco hard winter wheat berries are available in bulk bags, typically 25 to 50 pounds, in the grain and rice section of the warehouse or through the online store. The price typically ranges from around $15 to $20 for a 25-pound bag, representing exceptional value for a food with this shelf life and nutritional profile. The critical accessory you need, a grain mill. A manual hand-crank grain mill, which costs between $60 and $150, allows you to turn wheat berries into fresh flour without electricity. Electric grain mills are faster and more convenient under normal conditions. For a household investing in wheat berry storage, a combination of both is ideal. An electric mill for everyday use and a manual mill as a backup. Freshly ground whole wheat flour retains the bran and germ, including the wheat germ oil, B vitamins, fiber, and minerals that commercial white flour has had stripped out. A diet centered on freshly ground whole wheat bread is nutritionally superior to one based on commercial all-purpose flour in several important ways. What to buy at Costco? 2 25-pound bags is a reasonable starting point, giving you 50 pounds of wheat berries. Package into sealed 5-gallon food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers immediately upon purchase. The original packaging is not designed for multi-decade storage. Buy your grain mill at the same time. A tool without the food it operates on, and food without the tool to process it, are both incomplete. Number 4. The only food. With a literally eternal shelf life, archaeologists excavating ancient Egyptian tombs have found honey that is 3,000 years old and still edible. This is not a marketing claim, it is archaeological fact. The 2015 discovery of honey in Egyptian burial chambers, honey that was perfectly preserved, not crystallized to the point of unusability, and chemically intact, is the most dramatic demonstration of what honey's chemistry achieves. Honey's effectively eternal shelf life comes from several converging factors. Its water activity is extremely low, around 6, far below the minimum of 0.91 required for bacterial growth. pH is between 3.2 to 4.5, making it strongly acidic and hostile to most pathogens. It naturally produces small amounts of hydrogen peroxide as bees process the nectar. It contains antimicrobial compounds including defensin-1, B-peptide, and various phenolic compounds. The result is a food that is, in the truest sense, self-preserving. Costco Kirkland Signature Wildflower Honey is available in 5-pound containers for approximately $12.99. That works out to roughly $2.60 per pound, competitive or better than grocery store pricing for comparable quality honey. Costco also carries raw, unfiltered honey options and organic varieties at slightly higher price points. Beyond sweetness, honey is a caloric food with genuine utility. 1 tablespoon of honey provides 64 calories, primarily fast metabolizing simple sugars that are valuable in high physical demand situations. Honey provides a morale and quality of life contribution to a storage pantry that is genuinely hard to replicate. The ability to sweeten food and beverages, to make baked goods palatable, to provide quick energy, and to maintain the small comforts. A cup of sweetened tea, a drizzle on oatmeal, that matter enormously for psychological well-being during extended difficult periods. Honey also has well-documented wound healing and antimicrobial properties. Manuka honey in particular has been extensively studied for wound treatment, but even regular raw honey has been used for centuries as a topical antimicrobial for wounds and burns. A situation where commercial first aid supplies are depleted, honey's antimicrobial properties are genuinely useful. What to buy at Costco? Buy 2 to 4 5-pound containers of Kirkland wildflower or raw unfiltered honey. Store at room temperature in a sealed container. Do not refrigerate, as cold temperature accelerates crystallization. Crystallized honey is still perfectly edible. Simply warm the container in a pan of warm water, below 110 degrees Fahrenheit to preserve enzymes, and it will reliquefy. Store away from direct light. Number 3. Kirkland Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil, the 2-liter that punches above its price. The 2-liter bottle of Kirkland Signature Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil at Costco is one of the best per-unit value cooking oil purchases in American retail. Current pricing runs approximately $20 to $21 for the 2-liter bottle, roughly $10 per liter for certified organic EVU. Comparable quality organic extra virgin olive oil at a regular grocery store will cost $15 to $20 per liter. You are getting a 40 to 50% discount simply by buying at Costco. Olive oil does not have the indefinite shelf life of honey, salt, or vinegar, but it has excellent stability when stored correctly. Properly sealed extra virgin olive oil kept in cool, dark conditions maintains quality for 2 to 3 years. The high polyphenol content of extra virgin olive oil actually provides it with natural antioxidant protection that helps delay oxidation. Cool basement storage at 60 degrees Fahrenheit or below, unopened bottles can maintain good quality approaching 4 years. Here's what to understand about the current olive oil market and why Costco's price matters especially right now. Spain, which produces more than 40% of the world's olive oil, has reported that its stocks are at campaign lows as of May 2026. A 37% decline in olive tree flowering fertility in key Spanish-growing regions signals that the next harvest will be significantly below expectations. The relief in retail prices that consumers experienced in early 2026 after the 2024 crisis is likely temporary. The next supply tightening cycle is forming right now. Buying 2 or 3 2-liter bottles of Kirkland EVU today means you are locking in pricing that is significantly below where the market will likely be in 12 to 18 months, both at the commodity level and at the Costco retail level. For nutrition, olive oil provides monounsaturated fatty acids, vitamin E, and a range of polyphenols with documented anti-inflammatory effects. A storage diet heavy with grains, beans, and canned proteins, fat from olive oil provides caloric density, fat-soluble vitamin absorption, and satiety that the protein and carbohydrate components alone cannot achieve. A tablespoon of olive oil contains about 120 calories, the most efficient caloric delivery in a storage pantry after pure oils and fats. What to buy at Costco? Buy 3 2-liter bottles of Kirkland Organic EVU, or the 3-liter bottle if available in your warehouse. Store in a cool, dark pantry or basement. Avoid storing near the stove as heat accelerates oxidation. Sealed tins, if available, preserve quality better than glass or plastic bottles, but the Kirkland glass bottle with its dark color is reasonably protective. 2. Kirkland Organic Virgin Coconut Oil, 84 ounces of long shelf-life cooking power. Kirkland Signature Organic Virgin Coconut Oil at Costco sells for approximately $25.99 for an 84-ounce container. That is over 5 pounds of organic virgin coconut oil for $26. A price that significantly undercuts health food stores and even most online bulk suppliers. Coconut oil's exceptional shelf life, typically listed at 2 years, but commonly functioning well for 4 to 5 years under proper storage conditions, and effectively much longer when kept in consistently cool, dark conditions, comes from its unique fatty acid composition. Coconut oil is approximately 90% saturated fat. Saturated fats are chemically more resistant to oxidation than monounsaturated or polyunsaturated fats. This is the same chemistry that makes butter more stable than olive oil and lard more stable than soybean oil. Coconut oil, the specific saturated fatty acids, primarily lauric acid, caprylic acid, and capric acid, are medium-chain triglycerides with additional antimicrobial properties that further protect the oil from degradation. This means coconut oil is one of the most shelf-stable cooking fats available in conventional retail. Where a bottle of flaxseed oil might go rancid in 3 months, and a bottle of soybean oil might degrade noticeably. In 12 to 18 months, your coconut oil will be performing well years into the future. The caloric density is significant. 1 tablespoon of coconut oil provides approximately 120 calories. The 84-ounce Kirkland container holds 168 tablespoons, approximately 20,200 calories of stored cooking energy. $26, that's roughly $1.29 per 1,000 calories, which is extraordinary value even by bulk food standards. Coconut oil is solid at temperatures below 76 degrees Fahrenheit and liquid above that point. This phase transition is completely harmless. It doesn't affect quality in any direction. Storing coconut oil in a cool basement means it will maintain its solid state, which actually makes it more convenient to portion by the spoonful. From a culinary perspective, coconut oil has a high smoke point in its refined form, around 450 degrees Fahrenheit, making it versatile for high-heat cooking. Virgin, unrefined, coconut oil, like the Kirkland version, has a slightly lower smoke point of around 350 degrees and a mild coconut flavor that works beautifully in baked goods, stir-fries, and tropical-flavored preparations. What to buy at Costco? 2 84-ounce containers gives you approximately 10 pounds of coconut oil, a substantial cooking fat reserve. Store in a cool location away from direct sunlight, no refrigeration needed. The container seals tightly, maintaining quality between uses. Salt. The most undervalued preparedness purchase at Costco, number 1 on this list, is the simplest, the cheapest, and arguably the most important: salt. Costco sells Morton iodized salt in large containers. Multiple formats are available, including large canisters and multi-packs. The price per pound at Costco for salt is among the lowest available in retail. And for good reason. Salt is one of the most abundant minerals on Earth and one of the most efficiently produced food commodities in human history. Salt has no expiration date, none. Sodium chloride is a mineral. Cannot decay, oxidize, go rancid, lose potency, or spoil in any way that affects its function as food or preservation agent. The FDA does not require an expiration date on salt because there is nothing that could make properly sealed, uncontaminated salt unsuitable for use. Iodized salt, the standard form sold at Costco, does technically have the iodine compound added to it fade in potency over time, but the salt itself remains unchanged. Why does salt earn the number 1 spot over honey, over wheat berries, over everything else on this list? Because of what salt makes possible. Salt is the preservation technology that allowed human civilization to develop before refrigeration existed. Before the 19th century, salt was so valuable that it was used as currency. The word celery derives from the Latin word salarium, the allowance paid to Roman soldiers in salt. Salt's value didn't come from its flavor. It came from its function. The ability to preserve animal proteins long enough to be transported, traded, and eaten months or years after slaughter. Same function is available to you today, right now, at Costco prices. Heavily salted or brined piece of meat can be preserved for weeks at room temperature in the right conditions. Properly salt-cured fish, think salt cod, which was a staple food throughout the Atlantic world for centuries, lasts for months without refrigeration. Lacto-fermented vegetables preserved in a salt brine provide living probiotic nutrition for months at room temperature. Salted butter extends the shelf life of dairy fat dramatically compared to unsalted butter. A situation where refrigeration is unavailable or unreliable, power grid failure, extended outage, economic circumstances that make running a freezer expensive. Salt is the technology that bridges the gap. You cannot recreate this with pepper. You cannot recreate this with garlic powder. Cannot recreate this with any other spice or flavoring. Salt is uniquely, irreplaceably functional as a food preservation medium. Beyond preservation, consider what cooking without adequate salt means. If you've ever accidentally eaten food prepared without any salt, unseasoned boiled rice, unsalted beans, bread made without salt, you know the result is nearly inedible by modern palates. The palatability of food prepared from long-term storage ingredients depends heavily on salt. It is the seasoning that makes nutritious but bland foods edible. A storage eating context, the difference between having adequate salt and running out of it is the difference between food your family will actually eat and food that sits in the bucket. The iodine in iodized salt is also nutritionally significant. Iodine deficiency, which was epidemic in the United States before iodized salt was introduced in the 1920s, causes hypothyroidism, goiter, and in pregnant women, severe developmental problems in children. A situation where dietary variety is reduced and the normal variety of foods providing small amounts of iodine is unavailable, iodized salt becomes an important source of this critical mineral. What to buy at Costco? Buy more salt than you think you need. Salt takes up relatively little space, costs almost nothing, and never expires. Good starting target is 25 to 50 pounds of iodized table salt. Costco pricing. This is one of the cheapest purchases you'll make with the highest long-term value. Store in sealed containers away from moisture. Once moisture enters the container, salt will clump, but it will not lose its effectiveness. Buy at least some in resealable bags or canisters with good seals. For long-term storage beyond a decade, Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers protect against moisture exposure. Conclusion: your Costco preparedness shopping list. We've just walked through 12 foods that represent the deepest possible foundation of long-term food security available from a single shopping trip. Let me put the complete list in front of you one more time. 12. Distilled white vinegar. Definite shelf life, preservation medium, cleaner, versatile cooking ingredient. 11. Baking soda 13.5 pounds for $6.50. Indefinite effectiveness, tested at 29 years, multi-purpose. Kirkland Organic Apple Cider Vinegar. Infinite shelf life, blood sugar regulation, antimicrobial, flavor versatility. Kirkland Wild Alaskan Canned Salmon. 3 to 5 year commercial shelf life, premium omega-3 protein at under $3 a can. Kirkland Albacore Tuna 8-count pack. 3 to 5 year shelf life, quick prep protein under $3 a can. 7 dried beans and lentils. 25-plus year shelf life when properly stored, $1.35 per pound at Costco, complete protein with grains. 6. Kirkland white rice, 25 to 50 pound bags. 25 to 30 year shelf life, lowest cost per calorie in the warehouse. 5 hard winter wheat berries. 25 to 30 year shelf life, fresh grindable flour, complete nutrition when properly stored. 4. Kirkland honey 5-pound container. Effectively infinite shelf life, antimicrobial, morale food, wound care utility. 3. Kirkland Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil 2-liter bottle. 2 to 3 year shelf life, best monounsaturated fat value in retail, next olive oil shortage forming now. 2. Kirkland Organic Virgin Coconut Oil 84 ounces. 4 to 5 year effective shelf life, highest saturated fat stability, 20,000 calories per container at $26. Salt. Infinite shelf life, preservation technology, the irreplaceable foundation. Here's the reality check that I want to leave you with. Serious, well-executed, single Costco trip focused on these 12 items. Buying meaningful quantities of each. Costs somewhere between $400 and $800 depending on quantities purchased. That is less than most American families spend on 2 months of eating out. What you're buying for that $400 to $800 is not just food. You are buying insurance. You are buying the stability to not panic when prices spike. You are buying the ability to feed your family for an extended period without depending on a supply chain that, as we've documented extensively on this channel, is significantly more fragile than most people realize. The families who are financially stable and food secure during difficult times are not the ones who waited until the shelves were empty. They're the ones who made methodical decisions, informed by data, well in advance of the crisis. You now have the data. The decisions are yours to make. Thank you for watching. If this video was useful to you, share it with someone you care about. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We publish research-backed preparedness content regularly because this work is too important to do only once. Stay prepared, stay calm. We'll see you next time.